Good morning everybody. In the last few lectures I have tried to convey what is the concept of steel quality, what is meant by steel quality, what are its measure, how you can measure it, and I have given few typical examples from which you could have developed certain ideas. What is meant by quality, what are the types of typical common defects which we normally come across in steel products, how do they look like, and finally through investigation how you can come to a conclusion, what is the source of those inclusions. So, some basic ideas of quality, what is meant by steel quality, I have tried to convey to you in the last few lectures. Now, in a few series of lectures from today, I will try to give an impression on what is the present scenario on quality demands. We are talking of steel quality. So, what the users, steel product is being used by different users for different applications. Now, what do they expect from the steel products with regard to quality? So, that means the users who are using the steel products for different applications, every steel product is meant for a different application. So, we have to understand what is the expectation of the users, what do they really look for or look forward to with respect to the steel quality. So, what is the present scenario? It has, the scenario is changing. Today it is becoming more and more stringent. The users, they expect a lot of things from the steel product. The quality level, whatever was their expectation say 10 years back, 20 years back, 30 years back, now the situation is different. It is becoming more and more stringent. They expect a lot of high quality. They expect that when they are using it for a particular application, it should behave properly, it should not give rise to different types of defects. That is what they expect. Now, let us see what are this present scenario, where do we stand with respect to steel quality requirements. Now, let us try to understand that good surface appearance in the final product is essential in today's competitive steel business. Today's steel products are being produced by different manufacturers. There is no monopoly in the steel business. There are different competitive steel producers who are making different products. So, one has to compete in the business. So, the users who will be finally using the steel products, the final product I am talking about for different applications, they want that the surface appearance has to be good, blemish free. Why? Because the surface defects, they reduce the aesthetic value. The first impression one gets by looking at a steel product or any product in fact is it should have a aesthetic value. There should not be any unseemly lines or defects on the surface, it should be blemish free. I am first talking about the surface, and then of course there are other interior attributes, but first look of the surface should give a good impression, that is what is very important. So, good surface appearance in the product, I am talking of the final product, is essential in today's competitive steel business. Why? Because if there are surface defects, they will reduce the aesthetic value. The first impression itself will give a very bad account of the steel. By looking at the steel product, somebody will tell it is not good because it has some unseemly surface defects on the surface. Now, I was talking of applications. Steel will be used for different applications, steel product will be used for different applications. Now, what are the segments where there is a lot of competition and where you must have a very good quality of steel. Like one important segment is automotive. That means automobiles which you are seeing today, the steel which is required for automobiles, that is for the automotive segment, they require very good quality. Food processing, again food processing, like the cans which are used for different like beer cans or your soft drink cans, those are basically made from steel, very thin sheet of steel. They must be having very good surface finish, no surface defect at all, both from the aesthetics point of view as well as from hygienic point of view. Then packaging, again packaging is important because you can look at the surface condition will tell you, because packaging is you can actually see. So, you can look at the surface and get an impression of how good is the steel, that means the surface has to be blemish free. So, these I have given few examples, there are other examples also which will other segments of applications also which require very good application or very good quality surface as well as internal. I am harping on surface because that is the first impression one gets when one is using that particular steel product for certain application. The first impression is obtained from the good surface finish. So, applications in automotive, food processing, packaging. Food processing, I think the dairy products, the dairy like milk, like the stainless steel containers which are used for food, for preserving food, storing food in hospitals and in restaurants, they must be having very good surface finish, both from aesthetics as well as hygienic point of view. So, automotive, food processing, packaging, these are certain applications, these are certain segments where one must have very good steel attributes, otherwise nobody is going to take that product, nobody is going to use that product, it will be simply rejected by the users, end users. So, while we are making a steel product, we have to be careful about what is the surface quality and also internal quality. Now, I am giving certain examples like steel bar for cold extrusion. Cold extrusion is used for giving a very good surface finish. Cold extrusion, it gives a very good surface quality, surface finish. So, the surface finish should be blemish free, it should not have any internal defects. We should come to the surface and will create a bad impression, surface impression, that is not expected. So, steel bar for cold extrusion is one area, one example of steel product which requires very good surface finish. Bright drawing, again the name itself tells bright, surface is bright, surface is absolutely blemish free, so that no defect, no line defect, nothing should be tolerated on it. Nobody expects any surface defect on bright drawn bars or bright drawn products. Then I am giving another example, tire cord. Possibly some of you know that whatever rubber tires or vulcanized rubber tires we see, they need very thin cord which is made of steel. Now, you can imagine what is the thickness of this cord which is used for the tire, is very thin, maybe a few fraction of a millimeter, maybe 0.1 millimeter, so or 0.2 millimeter, maybe less. So, that thin cord of steel must be having absolutely blemish free. So, the internal quality from which you are making this tire cord, you are making this tire cord normally from wire rod, from some long product. So, internal quality of those products has to be absolutely good, so that when you are making such a thin cord, those defects should not come to the surface. Incidentally, you should please remember or please keep in mind that whenever you are going for a very thin sheet or very thin wear, all the interior defects whatever are present will come to the surface. So, the internal quality of products, intermediate products I am talking about, from which you are making this final product, have to be very good. Then only when you are making the final product, the surface will be good. Otherwise, you have lot of defects on the surface and it will be rejected by the customers. So, I have given examples of bar for cold extrusion, then bar for bright drying, very thin cord or wear for application in tire. It can be cycle tire, it can be two-wheeler tire, it can be car tire, everywhere you require tire cord. Then this is an example I was giving earlier, the drawn and ironed can. That means this thin sheet of cold rolled can which is used for fruit juices, for beer, for any such liquid food materials, have to be absolutely blemish free, both from aesthetics as well as your hygienic point of view. Then let us give another example, line pipe. These hydrocarbons, gas, petroleum products, they are all transported through pipes, and these products, they may have a lot of sulfur, they may have a lot of other caustic products which will react with the interior of the pipes. So, the pipe material which is used for line pipe is made of steel, should be of very good quality. There should not be any defect. The residuals, I will come to it later on when I discuss what are the attributes of steel quality and all. What I want to highlight, that this is a very good steel product, it has stringent requirements. So, one has to be careful about the quality of this steel product. Then let us come to another product which has also very stringent requirements, ball bearing. For many applications ball bearings are used, small balls, steel balls which are relatively hard, small in size. Again, they must be having a very good surface finish and internal quality. So, the quality requirements for ball bearing steels is again very stringent. So, I have given certain examples, bar for cold extrusion, bar for bright drying, tire cord, this very thin wear, then drawn and ironed can, very thin cold rolled sheet, steel sheet from which you can make this can, the line pipe for transportation of gas, for transportation of oil, petrochemicals, then ball bearing which is used for many applications, many applications require ball bearing, like any bearings, those require a lot of balls, very different sizes. So, since they are small in size, quality requirement is very stringent. So, all these products I have given certain examples, there are many other products as well. Slowly this will come to your notice when I go on giving certain examples in the following lectures, but I am just mentioning these are certain steel products where quality requirements are absolutely stringent. So, we must be careful about the quality. Our customers will be using these steel products, they expect that this product should be high notch or very high level. So, no compromise on quality can be accepted for these products. Now, let us try to understand. I am again and again telling you that this is the final product. Whatever example I was giving, say bar for cold extrusion, bright drying, tire cord, drawn and iron can, DI can, line pipe, ball bearing. These are final products. They start basically from where? Start from liquid steel, they are refined, you finally come to hot rolling, then maybe cold rolling, cold processing, extrusion, and finally you come to a product. So, just imagine that this level whatever you are getting in the final product is the outcome of several processing stages. It is not just one processing stage. First the steel has to be made, it is called primary steel making. Then the steel has to be refined, that means whatever undesirable residuals or elements are there, they must be taken care of, that is called secondary refining. It is different from the primary steel making. The first stage is primary steel making, the next is secondary refining. Next, after the steel is prepared, that means the the residuals and other undesirable elements have been taken care of, the cleanliness level of the liquid steel is relatively good, then you have to finally cast the steel, because after all we need a solid steel. So, the next stage after steel refining is continuous casting. Earlier people used to make ingot casting. So, present day with the advent of continuous casting, everybody prefers continuous casting for its obvious advantages. Advantages of better quality, better yield, higher productivity. So, continuous casting is the desired process of casting. So, then afterwards, after you have cast, depending on your final product, it may be a flat product like slab, it may be a long product like bloom or billet, it may be a depending on if you make a I section, it may be a different type of shape, it may be a thin slab, it may be a thin strip. So, continuous casting can give you different shapes, that depends on what is your final product. That shape should be is called near net shape, that means the shape of the casting should be similar. I am talking of the shape, not the dimension only. The shape should be similar to the final product. If you are making a hot rolled plate or hot rolled coil or hot rolled sheet or cold rolled coil or sheet, that means it is a flat product. So, your cast product has to be either a slab or thin slab or a thin strip. Then if you are making a ware which is a long product, it has to be from billet, cast billet. Similarly, if you are making some other wire rod or something, maybe it has to be made from a cast bloom. If you are making I section which has a different shape, it is not neither flat not just long. So, the cast product also should be similar in size, it is called beam blank. So, the casting also should be something similar to the I section or different sections. So, what I am telling is you can continuously cast liquid steel to different shapes, that depends on what type of final product you want to make. Okay. So, you have cast the material, that is not the end of the game. Now, that casting is of hardly any final application, because it is an intermediate product. It has to be given some hot working for bringing it to a particular further reduce its shape or size. So, that is called hot working. It can be hot rolling, it can be hot forging, depending on again whatever products you are making. So, before hot working, sometimes unless it is warm charged, these continuous cast products are reheated. So, reheating furnace is there. So, again in between continuous casting and hot rolling, there may be a step or process called reheating of the cast product. So, after reheating you are hot working, either hot rolling or hot forging, and then if you require it, the final cold processing stage, whether it is cold rolling, whether it is cold extrusion, whether it is cold drawing for fine wares and all. So, it depends what are the applications, the final product you want to make. So, all those applications will finally give you the final product. So, primary steel making, secondary refining of liquid steel, then continuous casting of liquid steel to a some intermediate shape, then reheating if necessary, and then hot working, hot rolling or hot forging, and then finally depending on the applications it can be some cold processing, either extrusion, cold drying and things like that, or cold rolling. So, after you have got the final product, then we are talking of the quality in the final product. So, you understand that the final product you are getting using different stages. So, the intermediate stages there is a quality issue, at every stage there is a quality issue, and in the final product whatever quality you are getting, it is a transformational product of all the intermediate processes. So, it is essential therefore to develop a clear understanding on the interaction of various contributing factors. Like for making primary steel, certain processes are involved. So, quality of primary steel will depend on certain processing factors, certain input material condition. Secondary refining will depend on what type of refining you are doing, what are the processes, how do you ensure a good quality in that stage. Then continuous casting, again it should be blemish free, there should not be any defect, cracks, other defects, I will come to that later on. So, at every stage reheating of cast product, again you are taking it in a furnace. So, the furnace environment, the temperature, everything is important, how it is being taken out from the furnace, everything is important. So, quality depends on that. Finally, the hot working, hot rolling or hot forging, the final product quality will depend on processing parameters, input quality, everything. Finally, the cold forming. So, that is why I am mentioning that it is essential to develop clear understanding on the complex interactions. It is not very simple. Every stage there is a possibility of quality deterioration. So, you have to be careful. You should know the process well, then only you can ensure a very good quality. You should know what is the level of quality for the input material. You should know in the process, particular process, whether it is steel making, refining, casting, working, hot working, cold forming. For every process parameters are important, so that you get a better quality and there is no quality deterioration in the process. So, this is very important. Now, I am trying to emphasize here that earlier there was not much of secondary refining of steel. You used to make any product or steel basically from electric arc furnace or open hearth furnace or induction furnace, and you used to do some quality improvement there itself. But I will come to it after a few lectures that there are a lot of limitations in this primary steel making, and that is basic oxygen furnace or induction furnace or electric arc furnace. You cannot do all the refining steps in this stage. So, primary steel making you just do melting so that it is homogeneous, certain amount of carbon has been taken care of and maybe phosphorus has been taken care of. But other elements like oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, hydrogen, all these elements cannot be really taken care of to the desired extent during primary steel making of BOF or electric arc furnace or induction furnace. So, what to do? You take care of these elements during the next stage of steel making, which is called secondary refining. So, advent of this secondary refining, there are different processes, each has its own advantages and disadvantages. Which process to select depends on finally what is your requirement, what elements you require, what residuals you require, to what extent you require their refining. All these will dictate what is your final secondary refining processes. So, there are different secondary refining processes available today. So, after the advent of these secondary refining processes, and then again continuous casting, as I have told you earlier, this is a relatively new casting process. Earlier people used to do ingot casting. So, you make several ingots from one heat. So, it is a batch process, but continuous casting is as the name suggests, is a continuous process. Several heats can be cast one after another. Maybe you can cast 20 heats, 50 heats, 100 heats, maybe more continuously. So, uniformity is better. There is a lot of technology involved in this process. So, you can get a better quality provided you are careful, provided you are knowledgeable about the process. So, advent of different secondary refining processes and continuous casting technologies, they have dramatically changed steel technology, steel making technology rather. So, how you make steel, good quality steel and cast it now depends very much on what type of secondary refining you are using, what type of technologies you are using in continuous casting. So, that when you get a final cast product, the quality is very good, not only the surface, internal quality. So, advent of therefore secondary refining and continuous casting, they have dramatically changed steel making technology. So, we must be aware of these processes, we must be knowledgeable about these processes, then only we can get a good steel quality, otherwise not, because these are all, this is not a layman's job. This is not a just a operators what should I say, skill, it depends on knowledge, expertise as well. So, we must be aware of the different secondary refining processes and continuous casting technologies to get a very good quality of steel, cast steel. So, therefore, it is necessary to fully utilize these processes. I have told that these are relatively new processes. People have been, steel makers have been using these processes. There are different possibilities, different processes, different capabilities depending on what are your requirements, what is the extent of quality, what is the level of quality you need. You can select different processes, you can select different secondary refining process, you can select different technologies for continuous casting. You can do secondary refining and continuous casting for getting different levels of quality. It depends what level of quality you need, because every process gives you certain level of quality, every process has a process cost. So, which process you select depends on what quality you want. So, it is a cost involved there. So, cost of the process is there. So, if you require a very good quality, you have to use very stringent processes. So, the cost of the process may be more, but using those expensive processes you get a better quality product. So, again I am harping on this issue that for getting a very good quality of product, you must have knowledge of the processes, you must know, must have expertise, and then only you can select the process, you can select the technologies for secondary refining as well as continuous casting. So, this is very important. So, finally, whatever you are getting as the quality of the cast product, it depends on primary steel making, secondary refining and continuous casting. Then whatever you are getting in the final product, that means after hot working or cold processing, that depends not only on the quality of the cast product, but on the processing, that means hot working or hot forging or cold processing, cold drawing or cold working, it depends, cold rolling, it depends which process you are utilizing. So, the final product which you get from the cast product again depends on quality of the cast product as well as quality of the processing stages. So, in this rather subject, whatever I am teaching you, in this subject on steel quality, I will be basically harping on the role of secondary refining and continuous casting. Though I have mentioned the different processes, so but I am again and again harping on the product quality, that means the cast quality, depends on secondary refining as well as continuous casting. So, the quality which you get after continuous casting, not only on the surface, the internal quality also, that depends on how you are refining the steel, liquid steel, how you are casting it, what technologies you have been using, what is your level of knowledge, what is the level of expertise of the operators. All these will ensure a very good quality of cast product, surface as well as internal quality are very important in the cast product. And from the cast product, when you go to the final product after hot working or cold forming, that involves lot of processing. So, though there the processing stages are important, but the material defect on the final product will depend on the cast quality, that means the quality of product which you get in the steel casting, that is very important. So, what level of quality you get after casting is very important and will decide many attributes of steel quality in the final product. Again I am repeating, the final quality what you get in the final product depends on quality of the cast product, which is called steel quality or material quality, as well as it depends on the processing stages, subsequent processing stages of hot working, hot rolling, hot forging, cold rolling, cold drying, it can be anything, cold extrusion. So, those stages are giving us processing issues. So, the final product after the final stage of processing is a combination of steel quality which we get in the cast product as well as the processing stages. Now, you please remember that when you get a particular defect in the final product, it can come from any stage. So, that is why it has lot of implications. So, lot of confusion, lot of controversies. Those who have made the steel and continuously cast it, they will tell my product was okay, the steel quality, the material quality was okay, but those who are doing the processing, that means the hot working people or the hot forging people or the cold forming people, cold working people, cold drying people, they will tell my processing was okay, it is because of the steel quality problem, that is why we are getting defect in the final product. Now, who will decide who was responsible? Since so many processes are involved, quality level achieved in the final product is the outcome of several processing stages, again and again I am repeating. So, that is why you have to be very careful about diagnosing or diagnosing what is the source of the defect, where from it has come, then only you can take care of in subsequent stages. When a defect has come in the product, final product I am talking about, whether it has come from the steel refining stage, whether it has come from the continuous casting stage, whether it has come from the reheating of the cast product stage, whether it has come from the hot working stage, whether it has come from the cold processing stage. So, everything is very important. We have to be very, very careful about this. But as I have told you, in this course I will be talking more about secondary refining and continuous casting. That means, I will be talking more about the quality issues of the material steel, that means what you get in the final cast product, how do they impact the final steel product, I will discuss those, and I will be just referring to some of the processing, but not discussing processing as such. So, that is why the present endeavor, the present course wants to demonstrate that improved understanding of the theory and practice, I think both are important. Please remember all these processes, secondary refining and continuous casting, the theory of it is very important, the practice is very important. When the combination is good, combination is there, then only they will lead to the desirable quality in the steel products. Without theory, there is a saying, practice is blind. You do not know what should be the practice if you do not have the background theory. But if you know only the theory but not the practice, then what happens? Then the theory is called sterile, it is not very effective. So, you must be having the theoretical background, that is equilibrium, knowledge of equilibrium, knowledge of thermodynamics, knowledge of kinetics for the process, secondary refining process, steel making process and continuous casting process. And also you must be having lots of expertise for the practice for the processes. The combination of these two will give you, only can give you, the combination of this both theory and practice can only give you very good and desirable quality in the steel products. So, the present course will highlight therefore the theory and practice of secondary refining as well as continuous casting. Why I have chosen these two aspects? Because these are relatively modern processes, understanding for these two require both theory and practice, and if you are having a good understanding of the theory and practice of these processes, you can be rest assured that the steel product which you are making will be having a good quality. The casting which you are making through continuous casting process, whether it is slab or bloom or billet or a thin slab or a beam blank, it can be anything, the quality of it, not only the surface, the internal quality will be good. So, we must ensure that, and for that this course will help you in understanding the theory and practice of both secondary refining as well as continuous casting. So, from now on I will just discuss what is the level of quality, what are the attributes of quality, how are they measured, and finally through secondary refining and continuous casting how you can take care of the defects, how you can take care of the residuals, how you can take care of the undesirable quality issues, so that finally you get a good cast quality. That is the purpose of this course. Thank you very much.